Melbourne, 6:30 in the morning, cold winter rain. You wake up, no alarm, no rush, no commute. You pull on a hoodie, walk to the kitchen and start the coffee machine. Outside, the M3 is already backed up. Thousands of people are squeezing onto crowded metro trains. Another Monday, another grind for them. Then your phone vibrates. Just once. You glance down. A dividend notification. CBA, $210. Already in your account. You look back out the window, and you remember who you were 5 years ago. 3 alarms every morning, running for a train that was always late, standing on a freezing platform before sunrise, hating Mondays, hating meetings, hating every moment you had to smile at a boss you couldn't stand. You didn't become a billionaire. You didn't build a startup. You never made the Forbes list. You just solved a very boring equation. One number, one specific number, the amount needed to cover your mortgage, your Kohl's grocery bill, your Origin electricity bill, and every other expense that once forced you to trade your life for money, because that $210 didn't come from overtime. It didn't come from a side hustle. It didn't come from selling more hours of your life. It arrived while you were sleeping. Your money worked, so you didn't have to. And it all started with one small, boring decision, the kind almost nobody talks about. Quick note before we get into the numbers, I'm not a financial advisor, and markets move. What I'm sharing here is based on historical averages and current tax law, purely to illustrate the math. Always do your own research. Now, there are 4 milestones in this video, and by the time we reach the last one, you'll see something about the Australian tax system that most people have genuinely never heard of. We'll get there, but it starts here. You're 26. Regular office job in Sydney, 9 to 5, nothing glamorous. For 3 years, you saved aggressively, while your friends were dropping half a month's salary on VIP tickets to listen out. You were adding to your Vanguard position, while everyone else was financing a Ford Ranger they'd only ever used to commute to the office. You were still driving your paid-off Corolla, and genuinely not caring. Eventually, your brokerage account hit $50,000. For most young Australians, that's a European holiday, or the deposit on a brand new ute, but you did something different. You put the entire amount into one of the most boring investments imaginable, a dividend ETF, something like Vanguard's VHY. Nothing exciting, nothing anyone talks about at a barbecue. Historically, a portfolio like this has yielded around 5.5% a year. On $50,000, that's roughly $2,750 annually. Let's be honest, $2,750 isn't life-changing. It won't cover 2 months of rent in Sydney. Most people would laugh at it. But one evening, you sit at your kitchen table with a calculator, and suddenly the numbers look different. That $2,750 covers your Bingle car insurance, your home internet, and a solid chunk of your grocery bill, milk, bread, eggs. The basics. You stare at the screen, and for the first time in your life, you realize something. This is the first money you've ever received that didn't require your time. Every dollar before this came from work, clocking in, meetings, traffic, stress. But this money, it arrived while you slept. Thousands of employees across Australia went to work. Executives made decisions. Businesses turned profits. And a tiny piece of those profits landed in your account, not because you worked, because you own. 4 years pass. Your investment account quietly reaches $200,000. Most of it came from years of automatic investing. The rest from dividend reinvestment. Money making more money. At that same historical average, $200,000 generates about $11,000 a year. This is where Australia's wealth-building game starts revealing one of its most powerful secrets, fully franked dividends. When you climb the corporate ladder and start earning above $100,000, you quickly learn something painful. The tax office takes a huge bite out of every extra dollar. You work harder, the government gets richer, but dividend income works differently. Companies like CBA, BHP, NAB, they've already paid company tax before sending profits to shareholders. That means those dividends come attached with franking credits. Under current tax law, those credits can reduce your personal tax bill, sometimes dramatically, and if your tax rate is lower than the company rate, the ATO may actually send money back to you. One Saturday afternoon, you're at a family barbecue. Your brother-in-law just picked up a brand new EV on a novated lease. He's proudly explaining his investment property. Negative gearing, the whole thing. Everyone nods. Everyone's impressed. Everyone thinks he's winning. Meanwhile, you're sitting quietly in the corner with a cheap local craft beer, listening, smiling, saying nothing. Because what nobody at that barbecue realizes is this: his property is consuming cash every month. The mortgage, maintenance, interest payments, the stress. Your boring $200,000 portfolio. It's quietly depositing $11,000 a year into your account. No tenants, no repairs, no midnight phone calls. That income now covers your council rates, your electricity, your gas, and probably a week on the Gold Coast. Some people spend their lives feeding their assets. Your assets are starting to feed you. 5 more years, $500,000. In Sydney or Melbourne, nobody's impressed by that number anymore. It won't even buy an average duplex. But your money isn't trapped in bricks and concrete. It's liquid, it's flexible, and every year at that same historical yield, it generates roughly $27,500 in cash flow. That's more than $530 a week. About the same as Australia's minimum weekly wage. Think about what that actually means. If you quit your job tomorrow, you wouldn't starve, you wouldn't be rich, you wouldn't be driving a Porsche, but you'd survive, and something remarkable happens. You unlock a luxury most people never experience: choice. It's Friday, 4:30 p.m. The office air conditioning is freezing. Everyone wants to go home. Then your manager walks over, drops a thick stack of documents on your desk, and says, "I need this finished tonight. Executives want it Monday morning." In the past, you would have smiled, said yes, canceled your plans, because you needed the paycheck, because your mortgage depended on it, because your rising variable rate demanded obedience. But this time is different. You sit there for 3 seconds, just 3, and for the first time in your life, you feel something new: confidence. Real confidence. Not motivational quote confidence. Financial confidence. You stand up calmly, push the documents back, and say, "Sorry, I've already got plans tonight. If it's urgent, I can come in an hour early Monday and handle it then." Your manager freezes. He's not used to hearing that. Most people comply. Most people are afraid. Most people need permission, but you don't. He stares at you, then turns and walks away. You pack your bag, head toward the train station, and watch the sunset glow across Sydney Harbor. That day, you didn't earn an extra dollar, but your portfolio bought you something far more valuable: the ability to say no. Now you're 40, $1.2 million. For many Australian families, that's the kind of net worth they spend an entire lifetime trying to build. For you, it represents 15 years, patience, discipline, delayed gratification, and saying no to things most people couldn't resist. That portfolio now generates around $66,000 a year in dividends every year, like clockwork. But here's where things get really interesting, and this is the part most people never talk about. When most of your income comes from dividends instead of wages, Australia's tax system starts treating you very differently. Those fully franked dividends carry roughly $28,000 in franking credits. Tax the companies already paid on your behalf. On paper, your assessable income looks like around $94,000. The estimated tax bill comes to roughly $22,000. But then the franking credits kick in. They offset what you owe completely, often more than completely. In many cases, the ATO actually sends you a refund, so you end up with around $66,000 in dividends, plus another $6,000 or so back from the tax office. That's roughly $72,000 in after-tax spending power. Meanwhile, someone on an $85,000 salary might only take home around $63,000 after PAYG withholding and the Medicare levy. On paper, your income looks lower. In reality, your purchasing power is higher, much higher. When I first ran these numbers myself, I had to check them twice because it didn't feel real, but the math doesn't lie. And then one morning, you're back in that same Melbourne kitchen, rain falling outside, coffee in hand. You open your work inbox. Hundreds of emails, budget meetings, corporate politics, employee engagement surveys, endless noise. You rub your eyes, open a new email, type your boss's name, and write one sentence. Thank you for everything. I've decided to resign. Effective immediately. Today will be my final day. You hit send, and then nothing. No dramatic celebration, no movie scene, no champagne, no shouting, just silence. The kind of silence money can't usually buy. You close the laptop. The rain has stopped. You lace up your running shoes, step outside, and start jogging along the Yarra River. The traffic is still there. People are still rushing to work, still fighting for parking spots, still trading time for money. The machine keeps running, just as it always has, but you're no longer inside it. 15 years ago, you made a decision most people laughed at. A decision so boring, almost nobody could stick with it. You stopped buying things designed to impress strangers and started buying assets instead. You chose to let money pay for your life. And now, for the first time in decades, your Mondays belong to you. Your mornings belong to you. Your time belongs to you forever.